We are now happy to be joined here on the set by the College Football Playoff Senior Director of External Relations and Branding, Gina Lehe. Gina, thanks so much for taking some time with us tonight. You have a ton of experience in the College Bowl industry. First woman ever hired by the CFP. What is your role at the College Football Playoff?
Well, it's a long mouthful of a title. Essentially, I oversee all of our branding and external relations, meaning traditional media, digital, social, anything that the logo touches, our IP touches. We're the logo police in my department. But it's been a great experience so far with CFP, and I've been very fortunate to be part of it from day one.
How have you seen it evolve? Because it is a relative new championship, if you will,
Sure.
in the scheme of major college athletics or professional.
I've had a very unique perspective. I worked at the Rose Bowl game and the Fiesta Bowl before I came to CFP, so I was part of the very first BCS National Championship, the last BCS National Championship, and the first College Football Playoff National Championship. I think the attention has been elevated around college football in general. There's a lot of folks who may speak ill of the BCS, but it helped get the sport to where it is today. The College Football Playoff has just extended that conversation and love of the game, and we continue to see growth and attention paid to it every year.
One quick thing here. From a social media perspective, obviously, that's our new, era that we're in. BCS, Power 5, Power 6, College Football Playoff. What connects today in 2019 in terms of an acronym or a hashtag or a slogan with the College Football Playoff that has been able to stick?
Well, our hashtag has always been CFB Playoff, so we've used that across every social media platform, and we continue really to push that, and hopefully people can get on and be part of the conversation and the engagement around college football.
College Football Playoff sites have been selected through 2024 sites all over the country heading to big cities. What is the philosophy for picking those sites for the College Football Playoff?
It's a pretty complicated process when you start to bring in all of the equations that come into finding a venue that can fit the capacity, whether there's enough suites, and then you start talking about hotel rooms for student athletes, traveling parties, and really a city that can financially support CFP coming to town as well. We've been really fortunate in the first 10 years really to go to a different city every year, and have had great success in letting the whole country experience the College Football Playoff. And when we started, that was really the goal of the commissioners and the presidents, to make sure that everyone in the country could experience this game and this postseason. And so we've been able to hold that true. And we have the last 2 years of the contract TBD of where we'll be headed, but we're looking forward to New Orleans here coming up in January.
Yeah, to that point, I think people fully don't grasp how much goes on behind the scenes, how far in advance, whether it's for a Final Four, a College Football Playoff, a Super Bowl, an Olympics. I mean, that's different than obviously an NBA playoffs or an NHL playoffs or Major League Baseball. In terms of the planning purpose, in terms of a city, the entire lodging industry, what's the appropriate lead time to put an event of this magnitude into a city?
Well, how we typically operate, we look 3 years out. So right now we have monthly visits to New Orleans. We're going 2 to 3 times a year to Miami, and then we've already started our visits to Indianapolis. So usually a 3-year outlook is a healthy way to approach it. But we've had conversations already in Houston, Los Angeles for a venue that hasn't even been built yet. But you're right, people don't understand the complexity that goes into these large-scale events, and oftentimes people think that you flip on the power and the teams run out and you've got yourself a game. But there's a lot more behind it, and a lot of support that the city brings to the table for us as well.
Gina, you are in the room with the committee, and there's a lot of diversity surrounding the selection committee. How does that lend to different types of conversation throughout the season?
It's arguably been the highlight of my career. I've been in postseason college football for over 20 years, and to have the opportunity to be in that room, I know everyone hears the integrity of the committee. That's used often, but it really is true. I mean, to be in the room with some of these former coaches, somebody like Condoleezza Rice, who's had a little more tough decisions to make maybe than postseason college football, but the intention behind their discussion, how thoughtful they are, and they don't mail it in. A lot of people think they're talking about teams 1 through 4 or 1 through 6. They give just as much detail to 20 through 25, and sometimes that's more difficult, but they really value that discussion and what they put into really thoughtfully thinking through how each position is in that rankings every week.
You know, one of the things that the men's basketball committee has picked up on is that sort of mid-season reveal of that Sweet 16, that top 16. Mm-hmm. That's obviously something that the college football committee has been doing now for a couple of seasons. How has that helped the branding,
sure,
the promotion, to give that little sneak peek, to pull back the curtain? You know, what is it, basically 6-8 weeks, whatever it is, 6 weeks in, into the process?
So when we were looking at the creation of the college football playoff, that was part of the discussion of when do those rankings come out. We start about 9 weeks in the season. We've got 6 total rankings, and it really has helped elevate the discussion, but bring it to a whole week of conversation. So you may remember during the BCS era, the rankings would come out somewhere around an NFL game. It may have gotten lost or buried on Sunday, and that was really the end of the conversation until the next slate of games started. We now have our committee starting to meet on Monday. Our rankings come out Tuesday. Wednesday morning, I can't tell you, there's probably not an office space in the country that's not talking about those rankings. Then you've got games starting on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So it has extended the conversation into an entire week versus maybe a couple of hours, which again, social media also didn't exist during the previous era. So all of that has really lent to the conversation just elevating and continuing really on a weekly basis now.
Gina, thank you so much for your time and for your insight into the college football playoff. Appreciate it, and best of luck to you this season.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.